So let's just get started as to what we are going to do in this particular seminar. Um, yeah, and we've started the meeting recording now. All right, so by the end of this session, you shall be equipped with all the basic information that will help you get started with your competitive programming journey. In short, what we'll be covering in this seminar will be uh, what competitive programming actually is for those of you who don't know, then why you should do competitive programming, what are the benefits of doing it, where you can do competitive programming, because there are lots of platforms, and what kinds of contests you can take part in, what kinds of prizes you might get, and stuff like that. And finally, we'll do a little bit of a demo of uh, solving competitive programming of solving a question on a CP platform live. So let's just get started. Nisar, can we move on to the next slide then? Right. So I would like you all to guess who this particular guy is in this slide. And yes, we assure you this is not any random guy. So you all can put your guesses in the chat. I hope all of you have access to the chat. Yeah, yeah. So we've got a couple of guesses here, and those two are indeed right. This is actually Gennady Korotkevich, and he goes by the name Tourist on several competitive programming uh, platforms. And well, he also happens to be like the world number one competitive programmer on most of the competitive programming platforms that there are. And well, if you want to be like him, I believe this is where you should get started from this seminar itself. So let's get straight into the business. Right. So what competitive programming exactly is that it's a mind sport. Okay, it's a mind sport which involves basically solving a bunch of problems. Um, these problems could be mathematical, they could be logical, and they could be involving algorithms and data structures. These problems could involve like a mixture of like math and data structures and algorithms. It could involve a mixture of logic and applying a bit of math as well. And one commonality among all the problems that you will find in competitive programming is, of course, that you'll have to solve these problems by writing code. And specifically, preferably, you'll be writing code in C++. So there's that. And of course, you have to solve these problems under a time limit. Meaning that there's going to be about 6 to 7 problems in a regular short contest, which you'll have to solve in like about 2 to 2.5 hours. And you'll be competing with a lot of people, right? You'll be competing with everyone who's giving that particular contest. So you'll have to be as fast as possible in solving those problems, because that is what will decide your rank amongst all the different competitors. So once we've known what competitive programming basically is, let's move into why you should be doing competitive programming. What are the advantages of it? So first and foremost, competitive programming will help you develop your problem solving skills to another level, because as you practice more and more of competitive programming problems, what basically happens is that uh, you build up these problem ideas in your head, right? You're solving a particular problem. Let's say you're able to solve it, or even if you're not able to solve it, you'll get to that problem later and try to figure out what approach you could have used, what approach you did use to solve it, and why it was wrong or right. So this way, there are these problem solving ideas that become ingrained in your head, and then when you encounter another newer problem later in future, you'll be able to apply those ideas which you learned from your practice, and that in general overall improves your problem solving abilities. So the best way to do this is to do competitive programming and uh, solving more and more of these problems, so that you get more and more better at uh, problem solving, right? And Next, of course, as you do more and more of competitive programming problems, you actually get better at data structures and algorithms because, as I had mentioned in the earlier slide, a lot of these problems that you'll encounter in CP will be based upon data structures and algorithms. So, if you want to get better at data structures and algorithms, doing CP will be really, really helpful. And of course, getting good at DSA will in turn help you in your software development engineering internship interviews or placement interviews or tests or whatever. So, for those of you who don't know, basically, uh, the software profile, the software development profile, uh, what happens during the job interviews or let's say your internship interviews is that you'll have two or three technical rounds, right? And in those technical rounds, most of the questions that they'll ask you will be based upon data structures and algorithms. They'll be testing your ability at solving challenging problems using some data structure or some algorithm cleverly. So, definitely having a practice of this through competitive programming beforehand is a really big plus and helps you secure your dream job or your dream internship. Same goes for coding tests or shortlisting tests that happens right before the interviews. Right. So there's that, and of course, if you become good at competitive programming, you can take part in contests. You can take part in renowned contests and actually win a lot of prizes. So I don't know how many of you noticed, but Nisarg Upadhyaya right here was wearing the Facebook Hacker Cup T-shirt, which he won for qualifying round two of it. So prizes like that are commonly found in lots of good competitive programming contests, and it's really satisfying to win one of these. And of course, last but not the least, if you're really into competitive programming, uh, it does become addictive. It does become fun, and mostly because of the element of solving something which is challenging and stimulating to your brain, can become really addictive and fun in the long run. So that was it about the advantages. Moving forward, of course, you'll ask me what kinds of jobs get secured by doing like a lot of competitive programming. So over here on the screen, uh, what you see over here on the screen is basically a list of all those most of those companies that have come during our CDC internship drive, right? So all of these companies that you see here were a few of those which came for our CDC internship drive, and let me tell you that all of them, each and every one of them, had a technical interview round. They asked DSA related questions in those, and they had coding tests, which are shortlisting tests, which are held right before interviews. All of these had DSA related questions in them. So, needless to say, if you want to get a job or internship in any of these companies, doing competitive programming will really help because it will build your data structures and algorithms skills. Right. So moving on, we'll talk about like the different kinds of renowned CP contests that there are, which you can take part in. And so let's start with ACM ICPC, right? The International Collegiate Programming Contest. This is arguably the I'm sorry, not arguably. This is the uh, most prestigious college programming contest because like it happens on an international level. But there are several levels to it. There's an online preliminary round, followed by a regional rounds, followed by the world finals, and it's extremely prestigious to qualify for the world finals. And in fact, even qualifying for the regionals is a really big thing. So this is one CP contest that you can look forward to. Then there's Google Kickstart, which happens every month. ACM ICPC happens every year. Google Kickstart happens almost every month. It's another CP contest which you can give. Uh, the main advantage of giving Google Kickstarts is that if you want to secure a job at Google or an internship at Google, uh, Google does give it a lot of weightage. Google gives your ranks in Kickstarts a lot of weightage. So if you have like a rank of around 200 or 300 or good ranks like that consistently, Google does give you a little bit of that does give you a bit of an edge while sitting for Google during your placements or your interviews. And of course, there's Google Code Jam, another very, very renowned competitive programming contest. This happens annually. There's Facebook Hacker Cup, another contest which happens annually on an international level, and another one is Code Chef Snackdown. All of in most of these international, highly renowned CP contests, you'll win like T-shirts if you qualify a certain round, and following that, you'll win like better prizes. So definitely, these are some contests that you can look forward to as you get better at competitive programming. So, having talked about all this, let's can we move on to the next slide, Nisarg?
I hope the next one is visible now.
Yes. All right. So now that we know a little bit about competitive programming, well, somewhat, then you might be thrilled to learn competitive programming, right? You might be thrilled to do competitive programming now. So now what? Where to go? So now I'd like Neha Dalmia to take over and move ahead with this seminar.
So in order to do competitive programming, the first thing that you're going to do is like go to a renowned competitive programming platform. These platforms host contests in which people from all over the world take part. So they are a very good way to know where you stand internationally. And there are also filters that you can apply to know where you stand in your country, in your college, among your peer group, and things like that. So practicing CP in these platforms gives a good idea of what your performance is like relative to the people around you. Another very important thing about competitive programming platforms is that different platforms have different kinds of problems. They have different kinds of competition structures, and the competitions have different rules as well. So the two most popular competitive programming platforms, which are Codeforces and CodeChef, they, for instance, have a lot of problems which focus a lot on logical thinking and puzzles and stuff like that. So these problems are very good for developing problem solving skills, which is very important when you're doing competitive programming, because most of competitive programming needs very good problem solving skills. And these platforms are very famous because a lot of people take part in real time contests, and they have a large number of problems and a very good problem set for practicing different kinds of problems. Another kinds of platforms are platforms like LeetCode and SPOJ and HackerRank, which are mostly meant for practice as compared to giving real time competition, as they have lots of problems which are focused on data structures and algorithms. And these are the kinds of questions which are asked in your software developing engineering interview quiz and things like that. So if you want to like practice a lot of different problems, then lead code and SPOJ and HackerRank are good platforms for practicing interview type data structure and algorithm based questions, whereas code forces and CodeChef etc are good for developing logical problem solving skills and for giving real time contests where you get your performance relative to the people around you. So depending on your need, you can choose which kind of platform that you want to use, and you can frequent both kinds of platforms in varying ratios. So this is the interface of a very famous competitive programming platform called Codeforces, and this is common to like different platforms. But we are like going to talk about Codeforces in particular, just to show you the pictures of what a platform looks like. So to the left, we have a contest leaderboard. So the contest leaderboard contains your ranking in the contest as well as the rankings of other people who are also giving the contest with you. It also lets you know that which problems have been solved and which problems have been solved how fast and how many people have solved a particular problem. So while you're giving the contest and you see that a lot of people have done problem D, suppose, so you can try doing problem D first. Codeforce is a platform which orders its problems by difficulty. So you know that B will be more difficult than A, C will be more difficult than B, and so on. But there are also platforms which do not order their problems. For example, in ICPC, as Rajat mentioned, in ICPC, your problems are like in random order. So the first problem might be the hardest problem, but Codeforces is not like that. And and the leaderboard also lets you know your ranking in the contest, and like if you solve this problem, what is the potential that your ranking will improve and things like that. So so the Code Forces has a leaderboard which functions in this manner, and as you can see in the leaderboard, there you can see players of different colors. So what are these different colors? These different colors are basically directly like the color depends on how good your rating is. So what is your rating? As you can see in the picture to the right, it shows that contest rating is 2277, etc. So contest rating is an indication of how well you are doing in the contest, etc., which you're giving on that particular platform. So your rating is a reflection of your performance in the contest you've given in the platform, and your high rating indicates that you have performed well in these contests and is in general a reflection of good competitive programming skills. Your profile can also shows that what ranks in like different contests you have given, and also shows how your rating has changed over time. As you can see, the person to the right, who's also a very famous competitive programmer, the rating was initially low in the beginning, and you can see how it increases over time. So if you give more contests, so you will have a good gradient as well, and you can see your rating increase over time. However, it is very important to not get demotivated by low ratings and bad ranks in contests. Although, if you do well in a contest, you will get a rating increase, and if you do bad in a contest, you will get a rating decrease. But what usually happens is that people give up when their ratings do not increase and will consistently perform badly in contests, right? But it is very important to know that your rating is not just a measure of your competitive programming skills, but it is a combination of a lot of things. It involves like speed and your logical thinking skills, DSA skills, and it also has a large amount of luck involved in it. So it is not a reflection of how well you will do in your software engineering interviews in the future and things like that. It is just a reflection of how good your problem solving skills and all your logical thinking skills are, and it also has a large amount of luck involved in your rating increase and things like that. But however, having a good high rating definitely means that you're ready to solve challenging problems and you can deal with like difficult problems and you have good problem solving skills. But it doesn't mean that having a low rating means that you will not perform well in your interviews or etc., which you will have in the future. So it is very important not to get demotivated by low rating, and it is important to treat like giving contests etc as a means of practice, more as a means of okay, I need to get a high rating just to show that I'm a good programmer and stuff like that. Take contests as an opportunity to do like more sums, and this is because competitive programming is very interesting in general. It will make you think about different kinds of problems and different kinds of approaches and things like that. So you should not do competitive programming to get a high rating. You should do competitive programming to like get exposure to different kinds of problems and learn about new ways to think, and like think of challenging and new ways to deal with a particular difficult problem and things like that. So basically treat competitive programming as a sport which is like meant to sharpen your like problem solving skills and things like that. So it is very important to not get demotivated by low ratings during competitive programming rounds. So in order to build a in order to tell you guys how to approach a particular problem in competitive programming, we'll be discussing one problem. So in competitive programming, you have to look at the same question in a lot of different ways. This is not a linear way of looking at a problem. So if you think of a problem in a different way, you might come up with a much better solution as compared to if you looking at it in a particular way. Okay. So here we'll be discussing a particular problem, and we'll be talking about different approaches of like dealing with the problem. And in the end, we'll arrive at the most optimal approach of solving this problem. So the problem is simple. So you have a friend who has given you a list of numbers, and you were expecting all numbers between 1 and n to be present in the list, but your friend took away one of the numbers. So essentially this means you have a list of numbers between 1 to n, but one number is missing from that. So suppose if n is 4, you have 3 missing, you will have 1, 2 and 4 with you. And you need to find out which number is missing. So is the problem clear for everyone? If there's any doubt, can you just do a plus one on the, if you've understood, can you do a plus one on the chat? Cool, cool. So it seems like people have understood the problem. So firstly, can anyone think of a very basic approach of solving this problem? Yeah, so I want the approach, like how will you deal with it? Okay, so some people are saying binary search, some people are saying linear search. So we'll go with the most basic brute force solution that someone mentioned in the chat, which also works like linear search. Okay, so firstly, you know that numbers in the list are between 1 and n, and you know that one of these numbers is missing. So what you can do is, how do I check whether a given number x is missing or not? You go through the whole list, you compare every number in the list with x, and then if it is equal to x, then it means that obviously x will not be missing. So you try out another number after that. So first I try it with 1 and I check whether 1 is present in the list by comparing it with every number. If it is not present in the list, then I try it with 2 and so on till I find the missing number. However, this is a very this approach can have a lot of problems when your list is very big. Suppose n is equal to 10 and 10 is the number missing. Then you'll have to go through the list for 1, 2, 3, so on till 9. Now, if it does not happen with 10, but it happens with something like 1,000. So for 1 to 999, you'll have to go through the entire list of 999 numbers again and again, right? So this will be a very long approach as you'll have to go through the list multiple times again and again. Exactly, the time complexity someone mentioned will be very high. Time complexity is a little more advanced thing. We'll not be talking about that now, but you can get the idea that you'll have to go through the list multiple times again and again for every number if the last number is missing. If 10 is missing or 1,000 is missing is a case of 1,000 numbers. So you don't want to do that. No, no, the list is not sorted. Another way that people have been mentioning in the chat is okay, so I sort the list and then go left to right. And when so if in a sorted list, but 2 will come after 1, 3 will come after 2, etc. So it is very easy to figure out which number is missing. But let's say the list is not sorted and you cannot sort the list. Okay. So if this is not sorted and you cannot sort the list, this method will be like very heavy as you'll have to go through the list again and again. So some people in the chat did suggest a better approach. They were talking about something to do with sums. So where do we get this idea of sums? So you know that the numbers in the list are between 1 and n, and you know 1 is missing. So you must be remembering, so there's this basic property math thing that the sum of first n numbers is n into n plus 1 by 2. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 dot till n is equal to n into n plus 1 by 2. So this sum you can pre-compute, okay, since you know what n is. So now you have this sum and you have your list. So this sum is equal to 1 plus 2 plus 3 dot till n, and your list has all numbers from 1 to n except for 1. So now as I go through the list, if I encounter say 2, I subtract 2 from the sum. So now my sum will be 1 plus 3 plus dot till the end. Now if I encounter 4, then 4 will be subtracted from the sum and so on. All the numbers except for the missing number will be subtracted from the sum. So someone is asking which method is better. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about that right now. So now after I complete this approach, so now you're subtracting each number one by one from the sum. So in the end, the missing number is the number left in the sum. So you know that this is the missing number because it was not subtracted from 1 plus 2 plus 3 dot till n. Everything else was subtracted. A benefit of this method is that even if n is something like 10 to the power 6, you just have to go through the list once. In the earlier case, for every number between 1 and 10 to the power 6, you would have to go to the list once, which means you would have had to go through the entire list 10 to the power 6 times. But over here, you have to go through the list only one time. So someone is asking, okay, so in the chat, so this is how you know which method is better, right? You only have to go through the whole list once in this method, whereas in the older method, you had to go to the list n times. So this is how you know that this method will perform better. But there is an issue with this method as well. So this is not something that I saw in the chat earlier. So although computing the sum and all is possible, yeah, you can do that also. You can sum the list and subtract it from n into n plus 1 by 2. But in order to sum the list, you'll have to go through the list as well. So it is the same thing that what I mentioned. Yeah, so a problem with the sum is that does anyone know like what is a maximum number an int data type can store in a language like C++ or something or C? Yeah, exactly. So basically, int has a limit, right? It cannot store any number greater than, say, 10 to the power 9. Okay. So now what if your n is 10 to the power 5? So doing 10 to the power 5 into 10 to the power 5 plus 1 by 2 will give a number greater than 10 to the power 9. It will give something 10 to the power 10, something, maybe, or basically greater than 10 to the power 9. So you can't store this. So, and if you try to store this in integer, it will lead to an overflow. Overflow will basically mean that a garbage value will be stored in your integer, which is obviously bad. It will be negative something, some random garbage number. So now you cannot store the sum. So what do you do? Has anyone heard of? So although the solution is here, so yeah, you can try storing it in double, etc. But n can be very large. If n reaches 10 to the power 9, then your sum of first n numbers will reach 10 to the power 18 and things like that, right? So that is, you can always come up with an n which will exceed your maximum storage capacity. So does anyone know what this bitwise XOR operation is? So people are saying long, long int and things like that. So yeah, but as I said, you can always choose n which will be large enough to even exceed long, long int. So that always won't work. So yeah, so we'll use an operation called a XOR operation. So I won't go into the details of XOR, but here we'll use a particular property of XOR. So basically, if you have a single bit, XOR inverses the bit. If you have 1 and 1, then the XOR will give 0. And if you have 0 and 0, then the XOR will give 0 and 1 and 0 will give 1 and 0 and 1 will give 1. So if same numbers, same bit XORed with the same bit will give 0 and different bits will give 1. But that is not what we are using XOR for here. So the important property of XOR that we are looking for is this. So A XOR with itself equal to 0, as I said. Yeah. So A XOR with A will give 0. So if I have something like B XOR A XOR B, then if I have B XOR A XOR B, then B and B will cancel out because we have two B's in B XOR A XOR B, so they'll cancel out and we'll be left with A. So this isn't just cancelling something similar to what we did in sum. In sum, we had 1 plus 2 plus 3 dot 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 till n. And by subtracting, we were cancelling the 2 if 2 was there and subtracting the 1 if 1 was there and so on. A similar kind of cancelling is happening here with XOR. If you have 1 XOR, 2 XOR 3 and you XOR it with 2, you have 1 XOR 3 left. If you XOR it with 3, you just have 1 left. So can anyone like figure out where we are going from here? Yeah, exactly. So you XOR all, you find the XOR of all numbers between 1 and n. So 1 XOR, 2 XOR, 3 XOR, 4. Yeah, yeah. B XOR A XOR B is equal to B XOR B XOR A. XOR is commutative. So yeah, so people have already said in the chat, you find ones or twos or three dot dot till n, and then you go through the array and again like XOR it with the first element of the list and the second element of the list. So everything except for the missing number will be cancelled off due to the XOR. So you'll be left with the missing number in the end. However, ones or twos or three dot dot till n will not overflow. It will always be possible to store it. So this I leave to you as a homework. Like you can like see why XOR, like 1 XOR, 2 XOR, 3 dot till n will not overflow, but 1 plus 2 plus 3 dot till n will overflow. Okay. So using XOR, you can deal with even very large n's so that they don't overflow and get the answer in just a single pass of the array. Does anyone have any questions about this or any doubts? Yeah, so the XOR will never lead to an overflow. So you can try to like do a little research and see why XOR will never lead to an overflow. Okay, it seems like people have understood. So now Nisarg will be solving an actual problem on an actual competitive programming platform for you all.
Okay, yeah. Hi, everyone. I will just reshare my screen so that my ID is also visible. All right. I hope my screen is visible. Like, if someone can confirm with a +1. All right. Okay, that works. So the aim of this showing this question is not to teach you anything particular regarding any particular concept of competitive programming, but I just want to show you of the basic structure of a competitive programming question in general. How do you approach it? What are the steps? And finally, like, how do you know if you have correctly solved it or not? It's just giving you a basic idea. It's a very simple question. Uh, so yeah, let's start. So the first thing is the problem statement itself. So make sure you read the problem statement correctly. Like it many a times happens that in a hurry you are reading the problem statement because you have a time crunch. Then you realize, oh, this is a very simple. You have done this type of problem before. You try it, you solve it, you cannot get the correct answer, and then after like 10-15 minutes you realize, oh, I missed this part of the problem statement. So yeah, like take some time to read the problem statement properly. That's very important. So in this case, the problem statement says that yes, you are given a string S consisting of lowercase English letters. Grab the Ath and Bth characters from the beginning of S and print the resulting string. So that's the first part. Okay. So like if for those of you who have taken PDS this SEM, uh, will have an idea that strings in languages are generally represented as character arrays. So if I give you a string, say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, this. So let's say like if I ask you what's the uh, character at position 0, arrays are 0 indexed, it will be A, right? And say like I ask you what's at 1, it's B, and so on. Basically, SI gives you the character at the ith index, and the indexing is zero based indexing. So the problem itself, like it will give you the values of A and B in which you have to swap. So the next part of the problem statement is the constraints. Now this is one more important part because the constraints will help you decide that whether the solution you that what type of solution you should aim for. Now this problem itself is a very simple problem, so it's not an issue. But like say the last problem which was being discussed, okay, in that um, like if the n given to you is say till 10 raised to the power 3, then maybe the solution which was discussed before, the non-optimal solution, will pass, because you need to do 10 raised to the power 3 passes of 10 raised to the power of an array of size 10 raised to the power 3. So that will be roughly 10 raised to the power 6 operations. Now, not going into time complexity and everything as of now, but like roughly 10 raised to the power 8 computations can be done in 1 second. And if the time limit is say 2 seconds, it can easily pass. But say they give you that the array size is 10 raised to the power 5, then it's not possible because the or non-optimal solution will take then 10 raised to the power 5 into 10 raised to the power 5, which is 10 raised to the power 10 operations. So this cannot in any ways pass within a time limit of 1 or 2 seconds. It's not possible. So the constraints give you an idea of like what kind of solution you should aim for. So like yeah, the constraints are important. So in this case, the constraints are quite simple. S is a string consisting of lowercase English letters. Length S is between 2 and 10. It's a very small string. So we don't need to worry about anything. And the values of A and B will obviously be from 1 to S, and A and B are integers. So yeah, that's the second part. The third part is the input format. So for any problem, there will be a set of like in the problem statement, they will mention a few things which will be provided to you as the input over which you have to solve the problem. So those symbols are actually quite well defined, and then they will give the same symbols in the input format also. Yeah. So what about test cases? Yeah, like some platforms do have test cases, like they will give you that we have say like T, which is the number of test cases to solve. But some platforms like AdCoder, they don't have that system. They only give you one test case per like input. So so yeah, in this case, that's why like it's important. Like sometimes some platforms which usually give test cases, they also like don't give you any test case as such. They will only give you a single like case to solve. So like that's why it's very important to read the input format in which way they have provided the whole input so that you don't make any mistakes. So in this case, it's quite simple. You are only given S, and then you are given two integers A and B, and you have to solve the problem for it. Okay. So now there is one more thing which I wanted to cover. There were several questions being asked that if you know C, then like why cannot you use C? Why use C++? So what I will do is I will write a C style code for this problem, and then I will show you a C++ style code for this problem to show you the difference between the two. Okay. So we have been given that the string will be at most of the size 10. So I can just initialize a character array of size 20 to store the string. And I will scan the string inside this. It's the string. I am given two integers, int a and int b. Scanf. Read the two integers. And then what I have to do is I have to swap the positions at like the index A and index B. Those of you who have like PDA programming and data structures must have seen this question of swapping to integers. And for those not, like it's a very simple thing. So what I will do is that I have two, like say I have two integers. One is A and one is B. The question just says that, okay, swap these two. Okay. Instead of this, in this case, what we have to do is that we have to swap the characters at position A and B. Okay. So what I will do is that I will create a char temp and write this as store stra in this. Yeah. Yes. Correct. And then instead of B, I will replace the A. I will replace with strb. So now the in the at index A, I have what there was at index B, and strb will become temp, which is the old value of A. Now there is a mistake in this, rightly pointed out. So remember, this is a very common mistake which is often made, which is that you need to take care of the fact that the indices which are given in the question and the ones which you use in your code might not be the same. The question refers to A and B on one-based indexing, whereas the character arrays in C are on zero-based indexing. So this should be A minus 1, A minus 1, B minus 1, and B minus 1. Now, so this was the part, like we code it up. Now the next part is that how do you actually test if your code is working correctly or not, like some expected behavior. So there is a sample, there are some sample inputs given in the problem statement. You at least make sure that your code is running correctly on these sample inputs. So this gives you an idea that your code at least passes the basic cases which it is expected to pass in the least. So now let's run this code. Okay. You also need to print the output. If you don't print it, will it work? str. Okay. So as you can see, the input was the given string, and they said that replace the third one and the fifth character. So that was O and U. We swap them, and thus we get U and O. Are the indexing in questions always one best? If they are zero based, they will specifically mention it. And some sites are pretty clear about it. They will specifically tell you always that ideally they should always tell you that when they are indexing, how are they referring to it. So we are trying it on the second one, which is A and 1, 2. Now swapping A with A will give the same string again. So this is also working. And the last one, this is also working because if we swap the first and the eighth one, it will give me a B and the A is swapped. So this code is working pretty fine. I am confident that it will pass in the given time complexity. So let's just go ahead and submit it. So I will just submit this code over here and submit. So like it gives you a waiting for judging over here as it's running on the test cases, and it gives me an AC, which is accepted. Now there are like various types of statuses which can come over here. For example, you can see this one. This is saying me a WA. This means that my code completed executing everything, like it completed its work. However, the answer which I printed didn't match with the answer which they expected. So that's the wrong answer. You can also have other statuses such as TLE, which is time limit error. That is your code failed to execute in the given time limit of 1 or 2 seconds. You can also have some more like MLEs, which are memory limit errors, that your code is using too much memory. Like you are trying to store too much information. Like say you are trying to store 10 raised to the power 10 integers uh, array inside your code. Like there are those kinds of things also. You can also have runtime errors where your code segment like seg faults in between. Yeah, exactly. So like there are various kinds of statuses which you can use to actually try to like debug your code. But yeah, so like this was a very basic task. Now, so like the code which I wrote was a very C style code. Okay. Now I will write the same code in C++ using C++ standard template library. I will show you that how your life becomes easy. I will just first write the code. I won't explain. I'm not sure how many of you know C++ as of now or not, but just by looking at the length of the code, you'll be able to see that why it's so useful. Yep. So like this is the complete code in using some C++ the standard template library structs. So you can see there is a string available in C++ which allows you to do very C++ strings are mutable, unlike Java strings, which are not. Yeah, so like I can edit this string. I can add anything to it which I want. I can actually add to this if I want to. Yeah. So we have a string S and I read into the string. C++ input output operations become very easy because C++ interprets what you are trying to read from the type of the object itself. It knows that this is S is a string, so it will expect a string to be read. It knows that A and B are integers, so it will expect that when you do C in AB, you are actually reading integers. Swap is an inbuilt C++ standard template library function which allows you to exchange exchange any two elements, be it integers, characters, characters, even strings itself can be swapped. And cout is the way to output something in C++. And so like, yeah, the input output operations are as such very easy. So the reason, one of the reasons why we use CPP is because of the vast standard template library functions which it provides, which reduces your code length by a lot. You don't have to write functions for very standard algorithms such as binary search and finding minimum, maximum, swapping, etc. You can make it work on Windows also, I guess. I'm not really sure. So yeah, that's the reason why we use C++. This was just to give you a gist of how a basic problem of competitive programming looks like. Now I will share a link to one problem with you guys, which I would like that you try to solve after the session. It has a flavor very similar to what Neha discussed right now. You can try this after the class. Uh, so like that was just to give you a gist of how a competitive programming problem looks like. And moving ahead, what should you aim for in college exactly? So like there were several programming contests discussed by Rajat before, which are quite famous. So you should like you should, if you start your journey now, you can look forward to having like getting good ranks in them by practicing as much as possible. But like yeah, ACM ICPC is actually a team contest with teams of three, and it's actually a very good thing to secure good ranks. It has 3 rounds, even qualifying the online round and going to the regionals and securing a good rank in regionals is itself quite a good thing. So like we had a team from IIT Kharagpur itself of like some of our seniors who have passed out now, and they participated in the world finals in Moscow last year. So like it's a huge achievement, and well, like yeah, you can definitely, if you like are do very well, if you practice enough and if you give it a shot, maybe who knows, you can also go to the world finals. And now there were several questions on the forum, like the message box, that they're like, we still don't know many things about it, how can we actually practice, we are not able to solve the problems, etc. So like yeah, everybody's journey starts like that. Initially competitive programming is not like that simple in the start. Like you feel like you are not able to solve problems, but that's mostly because there are several concepts out there which you don't actually know right now, and you don't have enough practice, and also you don't have a firm grip over a single language, which is very important. So there are several resources which CodeClub provides, that will be having CP workshops. We'll be having code nights. We have a freshers code night planned in the near future as well. And we'll be providing practice problems and resources soon. Keep an eye on the CodeClub page for the same. Just to give you a brief idea of what's available online. So on CodeChef, you have a data structures and algorithms learning series, and they have like made it quite well, part by part, from 0 to 11. It starts with very basic things, teaches you complexity analysis and very simple data structures. Then it teaches you the standard template library of C++, which I was talking about. And then slowly it moves towards proper algorithmic and advanced data structures stuff. So like this is one resource. Then personally, when I came to college, I was also not aware of C++, and I personally use the HackerRank modules to learn C++. So in HackerRank, there are these skills available for practice. So I use the C++ track to practice a bit of C++ and get my get good with the language. So that's one more place where you can go. And other than that, once you are a bit accustomed to everything and feel a bit comfortable for a more advanced topics, you can obviously visit Code Forces. They even have a edu section which has several things like suffix arrays, segment trees, etc. But these are a bit high level stuff. And other than that, we have A2OJ ladders. Yeah, like all these resources, like right now, which I am showing, are completely free. And then, yeah, so this is actually a very good thing. These are called A2OJ ladders. So Code Forces has problems in uh, three types of divisions. But yeah, widely there are only two divisions, Div 1 and Div 2. They also have Div 3 contests occasionally. So the Div 2A and Div 2B problems are one of the easier parts, like one of the easier problem sets. Then moving on towards C and D, the problems get a bit tougher towards the medium-ish level, I would say. Medium hard. The E is some sort of a medium hard problem. And then moving on to Div 1, D and E, like these are quite hard problems. Okay. Like these ladders have actually organized some of them, like some of the most solved and famous questions on the CodeForces platform. And this is a good place where you can start to learn from. So as you can see, the problems are sorted. The most solved problems come first. And this is a good practice for whoever is beginner in programming problems. So like you can start doing them from one itself and like target to do a few questions every day. And moving ahead, like when you start feeling very comfortable solving div 2a problems, you're like, as soon as you see one, you get an idea, you quickly code it and submit it. So like you become very comfortable with it. Then you can slowly move to div 2b. When you move to div 2b, the difficulty will increase a little. You'll face some problems in the beginning, but like keep going on, keep trying. And like yeah, so slowly as you keep getting comfortable, you keep moving on to harder problems and solving. Like as you move down, the requirement of knowing specific algorithms and particular types of data structures will also increase. So in the process, like you'll also have to learn about the various techniques available. But like yeah, so like that's the way like many people do it. Like you solve, you learn new things, and like you just keep moving on. So yeah, like these were some of the resources which I wanted to show. We'll share a compiled list of the same with you. And that's it for the shop. I guess, Rajat, we can open the stage for questions now.
Yeah, sure. I believe all attendees can now unmute themselves and ask questions. We can take a few of them in, let's say, about, we'll have a Q&A session for about 15 minutes or so. So you guys are free
So
to.
the way we'll do it that, yeah, so like you raise
Yeah,
your hand
exactly.
and then we'll ask someone to unmute. So like whoever we ask to unmute can unmute them and can ask the question. Okay. Uh, Manoj, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, actually, I'm on. Actually, I'm beginning coding, but can't solve that amount of questions in the lab. And how to? Can I join the code block? Actually, I'm an instrumentation engineering student. Can non-CS student join code block, code club?
Okay, so actually, CodeClub is the department society of the Department of Computer Science and Engineering.
Okay.
So it's only open to it's only open to computer science students to join. However, all of the events that we hold, like this particular one, are open to students of all departments, everybody in the college actually. So you're free
Can
to
I
attend
do the
any
lectures
sessions
of
or
the
any.
DSA?
I'm sorry, what?
Can I do the lectures of the DSA in the code club?
Yeah, whatever lectures, whatever workshops or seminars that we hold can be attended by anyone, right? They're open to
Okay.
everybody. However, we don't recruit anybody who's not in the CS department.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Um, Actually, we have a few important questions that were asked in the chat, so I think we'll answer a few of them as well. Neha, would you like to take one of these?
Yeah, so a lot of people were asking whether Python or C or some other language will be used. So for competitive programming in general, it was widely recommended that you use C++ only because it has a very good library which helps you do a lot of things much faster, like Nisarg showed. And doing the same thing in C will like take a lot of time. Although Python is also good for writing quick code, but it runs very slowly. And so since you have time limits on how fast a program should run in competitive programming, it is very important to make sure your program runs as fast as possible. So using Python in that case is not recommended, as sometimes just because you wrote the same solution in Python, your code won't pass whereas it would have in C++. Again, same for Java. You don't have a very good library which has a lot of important functions that you will be able to use for competitive programming.
Right, and somebody asked, I think, that they're getting confused as to what platforms to use because there's a lot of them, and I agree with you. There are a lot of platforms, and it does become difficult to like pick and choose which one of those to use to do your CP practice. So I would suggest definitely go ahead and try out the DSA learning series on CodeChef that Nisarg pointed out. Then, of course, there's HackerRank if you're very new to C++, or in fact, if you don't have a very good grasp over any programming language, start off from HackerRank, get introduced to a programming language, then maybe go ahead with CodeChef, start with the DSL learning series. Thereafter, once you're, a little bit of, once you have a little bit of experience in competitive programming through this, in about a month or two, you can go ahead and start giving like Div 3 or educational rounds on code forces, right? In fact, even give Div 2 rounds and see what kind of results you're getting. Anything else you guys want to add, Neha, Nisarg?
No, like I guess that's good enough.
Hello.
Okay, like one of you can go ahead. Yeah, Samay Durgadas, you can ask anything.
Yes, so since I'm a first year student and has no knowledge of any language, what would you recommend? Like which language we should start learning and from where?
Have you have not done programming and data structures course of first year, right?
No, I am in physics.
Physics semester. Okay, like do one thing. Like you can start with C++. That's not an issue.
And like what do you recommend how many languages we should learn in first year and from when to start programming competitions?
When to start computer programming questions? Right away from now itself. And how many programming languages as such you will be exposed to see during your PDS lab? Okay, which will be in the next semester, I guess. And other than that, like for CP, I would recommend definitely going with C++. So yeah, like you will know C and you will know C++. I guess that's enough.
So I have enrolled myself in the NPTEL certified course of Introduction to Programming through C++. So will that be enough or I need to do something more than that also?
Like yes, whatever course you take, like that's not an issue. You will definitely learn. But all I like the one thing which I would say is that instead of just learning like through seeing video lectures or anything, try to code. Okay, unless you code, you won't be able to get the confidence to solve problems on these platforms. So try to code as much as possible from the platforms which I just showed right now. We'll actually share the link with you also. So yeah, like that's the only thing which I will say.
But what
Whatever you
can I
learn.
code? I mean, where can
So
I
like
get questions for coding? Or
ah,
like I've seen Hacker Rank for practicing of different languages, but I also need to learn like how to do that and also.
yeah, so like that's it. You learn from a certain place, like you have some courses, or like you can just Google it through. That's also not an issue. So you face a problem somewhere, like say you are learning how to iterate through a vector, or how to create a vector and add elements to a vector. So like you can just Google it. There are several resources available online, such as Geeks for Geeks, CPP reference, etc., where you can learn about these things and then like approach the problem. Like HackerRank
Okay.
has problems for everything. When you will go to the C++ module, it will start from the very basics. It will even tell you that let's just create a vector and like just push elements to the vector, print the elements of a vector. So it starts from the very basics. So like you will learn almost everything in the process.
Okay. And is there any Facebook page or any WhatsApp group that we can join to get notifications about different contests that are happening?
Not something which I am aware of, but I guess like you can just keep a track on the websites like Codeforces or AdCoder, etc. They have proper calendars where they show that this contest is going to take place on this date.
So since I have no language of C++, even then from today I should start competitive programming on different websites.
Like first try to solve very basic things and then slowly move ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, hello. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, go ahead.
I want to ask that I am solving a particular question. You said to solve like SPOJ ladders or something. If I get stuck in a question, maybe if I don't know the concept, means I don't know what concept involved in it also, then how can I learn it?
Yeah, so like these questions which are available, they have editorials associated with them. Okay, these editorials have the solutions to these problems. So, say after thinking for like 30 minutes or so or more, it's up to you. Like, I would at least say that keep trying the problem at least for like half an hour. Something must strike out. Even the thought process itself, when you think, that is also good enough. So, after that, if you are not able to solve it, these have editorials associated with them. They also have sample codes available where you can look at how they have coded it. So, like, yeah, you can look at these editorials and learn from there. They will
And if
all
you
from.
see that your friends have solved it, you can look at their solutions and ask them their approach as well.
Means in SPOJ letters, in addition to like problem sets, there will be also tutorials. SPOJ ladders you showed.
Yeah, those ladders actually are links to Codeforces problems. So it will redirect you to the Codeforces website. On the Codeforces website for the these problems, there will be editorials available with them.
Okay. After 30 minutes of thinking, means I should see the editorial. Okay.
Not a very hard
Thanks.
deadline. You can try for more, but yeah, okay, good enough.
But like if I try for more time, then I cannot do more questions. Maybe. Yeah.
I like yeah, that's the issue. Like there's where the like the balance needs to come somewhere. But like slowly when you will try, you will easily be able to get a solution fast enough. And like if you are not able to get it for a long time, maybe there's some trick which you actually don't know, and that's the issue.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, let's take the next question. Um, Venkatesh, you can speak up, unmute and speak.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, so yeah, this is what I wanted to ask that after trying a particular problem, after how much time can we check out the editorial?
Editorial, right? So I would say if you're not able to solve, if you weren't able to solve a problem in the contest, try to think about it for like another 30 to 45 minutes. And if you're still, so you'll understand after that much amount of time has passed that whether you're getting close to the solution or not. If you're getting close to the solution, maybe go ahead and try for another 15 minutes, 20 minutes or so. If you're absolutely getting nowhere, which you'll understand on doing the problem, on trying to do the problem, if you're getting absolutely nowhere, then um, you can go ahead and get the editorial.
Okay, and one more
Anything
thing.
So
else
it's
you want
not
to add?
just Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So it's not just I'm not able to solve the problem and then straight to the editorial. So there are many things you can do in between so that to basically give yourself a few hints or something. So a lot of problems come with something called tags, which will tell you that which concept you need to solve the problem. So if the problem is on binary search, it will be written that the problem is on binary search. So instead of directly jumping to the editorial, you can take like a few hints. So first you can see what the tags are, so at least you'll know that this problem is okay. I
Yeah.
know I need to use binary search for this problem. Then you think more for like 15-20 minutes. If you still can't figure out how to use binary search, you don't need to go ahead and read the entire editorial. You can just read the first line, try to get a hint from that, and so on. So it's not always jumping to the entire solution. You can give yourself a few hints along the way, and if you can't do anything at all, then look at the whole editorial.
Okay. And one more question which I had was whatever knowledge or concepts that we learn through competitive programming, will it be useful in while developing an app or like app development or any kind of open source software which which one will be working on?
Um,
Basically, do the concepts and knowledge of competitive programming help in software development?
Uh, so look, competitive programming involves problems of various kinds, right? So if you want to solve problems of data structures and algorithms, like basically when you're developing an app, also sometimes you might need to have a good grasp on data structures and algorithms concepts, right? So
Hmm.
how do you get good at solving problems that involve using some data structures or algorithms? You get better at that by doing CP questions, which are on data structures and algorithms. That's how you get better at that. And definitely having a good hold on data structures and algorithms will help you in some way or the other during app development as well. However, it's not the case that I mean, you need to do CP to be good at app development. That's obviously not a prerequisite or anything, but I believe yes, doing competitive programming does give you a little bit of a better grasp at DSA as such. Anything else you guys would like to add, Nisarg, Neha?
No, nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And I think we can take one last question from Vibhor.
Yeah, so it's not a question, it's a request. If it can be done that a separate MS team can be created and the joining code can be sent via Facebook if possible, so that like for any information or doubt, if someone can answer, then we can directly communicate it through one place. It's not like we have to go somewhere else and ask, at least in the starting.
Um, I guess we'll be having, in fact, we will be having like competitive programming workshops for which MS Teams would be made very soon. I believe in about 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be starting competitive programming workshops for you guys, as well as for like the more intermediate or advanced competitive programmers. So an MS Teams will be formed for that. And of course, the communication will be shared with you guys also through some medium or the other. So, yeah.
So today's link, like those which
Yeah,
Nisarg showed, so
whatever links we are going to be sharing will be present in like one document, possibly I mean in like a Google Doc or something, which also might get updated in future, right? So and we'll share that link through our Facebook page, right? And in fact, the link to today's meeting also, the link to the meeting recording will be shared to you guys through the same Facebook post, which will come out soon, right? And as far
Yes,
as like discussing competitive programming with your peers or with your seniors goes, I think Grimoire of Code already has a competitive programming mentor-mentee mentor-mentee workshop. It's not a workshop as such. It's like a mentor-mentee program that's already being conducted by Grimoire of Code. So you can actually, I think, get in touch with them and try to get yourself into one of those groups.
how to get in touch with them?
It's just like how you get in touch with any other society, I think. Message their Facebook page and you'll get a reply.
So, can you please tell which Facebook page to follow for that?
Okay, I'll just type the name. It's more of code, right?
also means the page that Nisarg showed, that was of having ladder, the question ladders. Can he just type it in the chat so that we can just copy at least that so that we can practice it?
We'll give you all the required links that you will find useful. Okay, right. So Nishtaka has shared it. Fair. He shared it on the chat.
Is DSA same for C and C++?
DSA same for C and C++. Yes. I mean, look, if you're thinking of like learning data structures and algorithms, I would suggest learning them through C++. Of course, C or C++ is just a programming language. You can learn all the same concepts, all the data structures and algorithms in either language, in fact, in any language, right? However, all of us would suggest learning C++ for sure because of the ease of implementation that is provided by the standard template library, right? Which has been discussed already.
Rajat, you are muted, I guess.
Right, my bad. So Nisarg has shared a few links on the meeting chat. You guys can have a look at this. And I believe this will be the end of today's meeting. It was really nice to have you guys, and I hope you all have taken something back from this. All I would like to tell you guys now is that do take part in the Freshers Code Night that we will be organizing very soon. Code Night is a competitive programming contest that Code Club holds regularly, and the Freshers Code Night is specifically meant for you freshers. It'll have relatively much easier problems that you guys will be uh, expected to solve in about 2 to 3 hours. So do look forward to that. It's going to happen very soon, right?
We will get the notification about that on Facebook page, no?
Yes, yes. All of you, please go ahead and like the Facebook page of Code Club so that you get all of the resources that we'll be posting soon and notifications about uh, the Freshers Code Night, followed by that, the notification about the CP workshop. All right. No, look. You won't need to be proficient. Obviously, you need to be proficient in one language at least. but there is no hard and fast rule that you'll have to be proficient in, let's say, a particular language. You'll be able to submit solutions in a wide variety of languages. Of course, another time I'm repeating C++ recommended. So
Hello, Rajat. I had a short question. Um,
yes.
yeah, so like I am a MTech fresher, right? So like I have been coding since class 9, but I have never had the chance to like take it to the next level. So I have the basic concepts and the basic understanding in Java, right? But like unlike my friends here from BTech and also like I don't have that much time before my time in KGP ends, right? So like most of my friends or like classmates are not very much interested in this stuff, so like there is a big problem for me to get some guidance about CP, especially in Java, because like I'm already like I have some knowledge in Java. I don't know much of C++, but I'm quite interested in CP. So like how should I move forward?
I believe the steps for you remain the same, right? I mean, you know Java, right? So if you do know Java, you can probably look up some competitive programmers who do competitive programming in Java. If you're not willing to switch to C++, I don't think it'll be very difficult for you to switch to C++ for competitive programming, though, because you know Java already, right? And it's not like you need to know like advanced OOP concepts of C++ or anything. It's just basic C++ that you'll need to be familiar with, which I think can be done. And the other steps remain the same for you, the ones that we've discussed. Second thread, exactly. Menak is pointing out this very correctly. Second thread is one famous competitive programmer slash YouTuber who codes in Java. So yeah, you can follow him.
Okay, thank you very much. And great workshop, guys. Thanks
Yeah,
for the initiative.
thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Okay, then we'll be ending this meeting now. Thanks, you guys, for attending, and hope to see you all in the Freshers Code night on the leaderboard. Bye, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Don't call me sir, please.